941 Sports Connections. So listen up. This is a new podcast in the 941 area that we're going to talk about sports. We're going to talk about everything. Now, I'm a football guy, so of course it's mainly going to be a football podcast, but we will hint at other sports, basketball, track, and everything, and we will have other guests on speaking on things that's outside of the realm of sports. Um, right now I will put a disclaimer out there. I am coaching right now. I just accepted a linebacker coaching position at Manatee High School. So these interviews that you'll be seeing in the next few days and in the coming weeks are with coaches before I accepted the coaching position. Today, you guys are going to get the pleasure of hearing and watching me speak with Coach Jacquez Green, head coach of Manatee High School, former Florida Gator, former Tampa Bay Buccaneer. Um, After the video, after you listening, I know for sure you guys are gonna like the content. Like, share, comment on YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell and get notified every time we upload.
All righty, what's up, everyone? This is John Johnson with 941 Sports Connections. Today's guest is Coach Jacquez Green, head coach of Manatee High School. Was just the offensive coordinator, was named head coach about a month ago, right, Coach?
Yeah, during spring practice, probably second week of spring practice.
Okay, good. I know I said it on Twitter, but I'm gonna say it now so everyone can see it. Congratulations on the new job. I know that's something that felt great to get.
Yeah, at the beginning, I just wanted to make sure the kids got through spring practice and was able to have a spring practice. And as I got going with spring practice, I kind of became intrigued with the job. So, I eventually applied. That's the first job I ever applied for as far as a head coach.
Gotcha. Now you say that, and there's a question that I wanted to talk to you about. And I'm gonna just jump right into the questions. I do follow you on Twitter, like I said, and just maybe about a couple months ago, close to a year, you were having a conversation with someone saying that you like being an assistant coach, and you don't know if you will take a head coach job. You had opportunities to go to college, had opportunities to be a head coach. What is it about Manatee that you was like you say, it was intriguing? What was it about Manatee that was intriguing that you was like, you know what, I'm planting my flag. This is where I'm gonna be my head coach.
It was mostly the kids. I enjoyed the kids here. We had a lot of core pieces coming back, a lot of guys that play a lot of football coming back from the year before. We have good kids. At Manatee, the community really cares about the football team, so it's a big deal. And if I ever coached at a school, I always wanted to coach at a school where it's a big deal. Everybody was checking, see if Manatee wins or loses each Friday night. So, and I was getting older. I'm 45 years old right now, so I wasn't getting any younger. So I figured if I wanted to try to become a head coach, I might as well try it now before I get out of coaching.
Gotcha. And now, yeah, and I'm born and raised here, so Manatee is a little near and dear to my heart. My both my parents graduated from Southeast. Actually, I'm the only one in the family that went to Manatee, so I know how the community is with Manatee, where you got some people that just straight up hate. They every week they looking to see if Manatee lost. You got some people that actually look, and they'll drive all the way down to St. Thomas every time we play down there just to watch them play. So it is a big Manatee County. Is Manatee High School always has Manatee County's eyes on it, which exactly what you said. Um, Now you got Jace coming back, right? Jace Borowski. He's a
Yeah,
senior this year.
Jason
Now,
Bill senior this year. He started since he's a sophomore.
gotcha. And he was a baseball kid, right? His sophomore year was his first year playing football.
Well, he played football. He played some safety and some quarterback as a ninth grader. We got a few kids on the football team that plays baseball, but he's a pretty good athlete. So he pitches on the baseball team and he's quarterback on our football team.
Gotcha. Yeah, and see, I see last year he had roughly around 1,700 yards passing, 19 tubs and 6 interceptions. That's great. 62% completion rating. I know you would probably like to see the completion rating a little higher, but that'll come along with time and continuity in offense.
Wasn't
Um,
bad. He had a good year. He had a good year last year. Threw for 1,700 yards. I think we only played 8 or 9 games. So,
yeah,
and we're not a type of offense. I'm not going to throw the ball 20, 30 times a game. And if you look at the stats and see we've thrown the ball 20, 30 times a game, I mean, we're probably losing most of the game. So on a good night, my quarterback throw the ball 15, 18 times a game, and we try to run the football and be physical up front.
Yeah, and I did see that because I looked and I was like, he only had 200 attempts, and I'm like, that's with 1,700 yards and 200 attempts, he had some good completions, and then you had what's the wide receiver you guys had last year? JC. He was a baller. He's a kid that he could catch a slant and go 80 at any time, and then every now and then you could use Iron, who also graduated. Now you got Kyrie coming back, who that's a load. Kyrie's a load at that running back. As Coach Barrett, I know Coach Barrett very well. Coach Barrett like to say he got a stable, but that's the lead horse. That's a Mustang right there.
Got a lot of depth. Kyrie probably our top back. He about 230, 5'10". We have 3 or 4 other good young backs that can run the football also, which probably, a lot quicker than a lot faster than Kyrie. But we try to get them all the touches, we can. And it all starts with Kyrie, him coming downhill between the tackles.
Gotcha. And I know you a Spurrier guy. You played under Spurrier at Florida. Do you run and gun, or like you say, you like to pound the ball? What's your more philosophy on the offensive side?
I've taken a little bit of a lot of different guys I've played up under. Coach Spurrier, some of his things I learned from Marty Morningwig when I played in Detroit. Also, some of the stuff I learned from Coach John Gruden when I went back to Tampa. I'm a West Coast guy at heart. I run a lot of West Coast concepts. I want to run the football first and foremost. I want to get big plays in the passing game. I try to protect my quarterback and not just have him in 4 and 5 wide throwing the football all game. So Jace does a good job of running our scheme, and he's one of the better quarterbacks I've coached since I've been coaching high school football.
Gotcha. Now, if you don't mind, for our listeners and our viewers that's not football savvy, when you say West Coast scheme, when I hear West Coast, I think of old school San Francisco 49ers. And Gruden has a little bit in there. Can you explain the West Coast scheme for our non-football savvy people?
West Coast is, you're trying to get the ball out the quarterback's hands fast and throw it the guys on the runs and catch the ball and run the football. It used to be more of a dink and doink offense in the early stages, but now, with Andy Reid and Coach Nagel over at the Bears, they incorporate a lot of RPOs and a lot of other things into the offense, but stay true to the West Coast concept. So I think Steve Sarkisian and Lane Kiffin started out doing a lot of West Coast stuff at USC and have incorporated a lot of tempo and RPOs in their scheme also at Texas and Alabama. Lane Kiffin now at Ole Miss, he's still putting up big time numbers in the passing game.
Yeah, I truly feel like it's 2 coaches that coached under Nick Saban that puts the fear and heart into him, and one of them is Lane. Yeah, Lane is different. Lane, honestly, if I would have had the chance to play under Lane, or if I have my nephew who's at Manatee right now, if he has that's a visit that I got to take.
I think Lane was always comfortable in his skin. Like, he knew he was a good coach. He knew he was capable of doing. So what Spurrier said or did, not Spurrier, what Nick Saban said or did never bothered him because he's always comfortable in what he could do as a coordinator. But everywhere he's been as a coordinator, he's put up big time yards. Way back to USC, all the way up to now at Ole Miss last year, they put up crazy numbers on offense. So he's always been a big time offensive coach.
Yeah, even when he was with the Raiders, they had decent numbers. So I honestly think he's a heck of a coach. Him being in that West, he got to deal with Bama and Texas A&M recruiting. I don't think he's gonna get the dogs to be able to compete with them. Now, you said Jace is one of the best quarterbacks that you ever coached. I know up in Gobby, you had Jimbo Fisher's son. What is it, Trey?
Trey Fisher, yeah. Trey was big time now. Trey was real good too. He's one of the best too. Trey had better skill guys. We had way better skill position guys up at Gobby than we do down here at Manatee. We may be a little bit bigger as far as personnel down at Manatee, but at Gobby we had some guys that can fly. We had a bunch of fast receivers, we had a bunch of fast running backs. So Trey had a little bit better personnel. Trey was probably the best leader that I've ever coached. He's a coach's son. He was no nonsense. He was about getting things done on the practice field. And he's the type of guy that you had to have answers for, because he's gonna ask you some grown man football questions.
Coming
He
from his
always wanted to
dad.
know, yeah, he wanted to know why we do what we do, and which I loved it, because I could sit there and just talk football with that guy.
Gotcha. So now we're gonna go back a little bit back to you. Now you're from Peach County, Georgia, which if a lot of people
Fort
don't
Valley,
know,
Georgia. Peach County is the county.
It's right in the middle of the state. If you're going to Atlanta, which a lot of people do from up this way, you passing through Peach County, you passing through Fort Valley. How in the world did you end up at Florida? Like, I know UGA had some dogs, you had Georgia Tech. How you ended up at UF?
My junior year, we had a guy named Marcus Robinson who played with the Chicago Bears for about 10 years. And who is DeMarcus Robinson, who plays with the Chiefs, his uncle. All of them from Fort Valley also. Gotcha. So he was a big-time recruit. And my senior year, we had a guy named Joaquin Fizell, who's one of the best defensive ends in the country. He ended up going to Michigan. He's a team captain on Michigan's national championship team. So all the big-time recruits and guys who come in town to recruit football players, they had to stop by to see those two guys. But at the same time, when they stopping in town to see those guys, I'm the guy who touching the ball like all night long on the football game. So after so many games, and we made it to the state championship game my junior year. So we was one of the better teams in Georgia for my 3 years in high school. And after a while, I started getting recruited by and started getting letters from just about all the schools in the country, especially all the schools in the Southeast. And I got recruited to the University of Florida by John Reeves. A lot of people know Coach Reeves. He played at UF. He's a quarterback for the Tampa Bay Bandits. So he recruited me to UF, and I started paying attention to Florida probably the end of my junior year to my senior year, and it was just a place I felt that I'd be comfortable at. It was only 3 or 4 hours from Fort Valley, Georgia. They was going to let me play receiver. I actually was mostly an option quarterback in high school, so it came down to some schools want me to play receiver and some schools want me to play corner. I didn't want to play defense, so it was down to the schools that was going to let me play on offense.
Gotcha. You didn't want to come down that hill, huh? You didn't want to come down and tackle nobody.
Exactly. I like to make people miss.
Now you said that you learned a little bit of, you took a little bit of your offense from Gruden. You are one of the few players that got the opportunity for the Bucks to play for Dungey and Gruden. So what's the difference between those two? Because I've heard stories from Derrick Brooks and Warren Sapp and John Lynch about how Dungey was the even kill guy. Gruden kind of brought that edge. But what was the difference to you?
They were really totally opposites as far as personality. I was only with Gruden for the off season and the whole summer, all the way up to like cut day when I got released by the Bucks. But Gruden was more of an offensive guy. Dungey more of a defensive guy. Dungey was even kill, big on technique. Gruden was a fiery guy who tried to get everybody going. It's a million ways to skin the cat. So, it worked whatever way, whatever Gruden did or whatever Dungey did, it works for both guys because they've been, NFL head coaches for a long time and both have had a lot of success. So,
yeah. Now, I feel like everybody that ever played for the Bucks got a Warren Sapp story. Do you have him being a pocket guy, meeting the guys from a pocket and just seeing him on social media? I know he's a character. So what's your Warren Sapp story?
I don't really have any Warren Sapp stories. No, I spent a lot of time with Sapp. Cool guy, good guy. Played video game with Sapp. Hung out at his house a couple of different times. Hung out other places with Warren, but I don't have many stories, especially stories I can really tell on a podcast.
I get you. We'll holler. Now I'm a transition back to Manatee. So you were up at Gabi, and like you say, they had some athletes because I know. And I don't pay attention to it as much as I used to, but recruiting, I pay attention to it okay. And I know Gabi, you guys sent some guys D1 at the wide receiver position, in the running back position. What made you leave Gabi and come down to our little small town of Bradenton and be the OC at Manatee? I know you and Shakir had a connection. Is that kind of like the final thing?
Well, me and Coach Shakir had coached together at Lincoln for 6 or 7 years. So I already knew Coach Shakir was down here at Manatee. At that particular time, I wasn't ready to just, get up and move to Manatee when he first came down here. So I went over to Gabi. Gabi had just got a brand new head coach, Corey Fuller. And, Corey Fuller was a great head coach. We had that team. Gabi had lost Gabby had won like 3 games the 2 years prior before we got there. And the 2 years we were there, we was 23-2. So we had a bunch of success there. But Coach Fuller was, he always had a thing for going back to East Gaston coach. And after our second year, there's a lot of rumbling about he may go back to East Gaston coach. And eventually he took the job to go back to East Gaston coach. And at that time, I really didn't want to stay at Gabby at that time. So I knew Coach Shakir was down at Manatee and he didn't have an offense coordinator. So I called him up and asked him, checked on what he was doing and what was in his plans for the future. And he told me he needs offense coordinator. So I came down a couple of months later and we chopped it up. And eventually I was named the offense coordinator.
Okay. And this is not your first time coaching in the Bay Area, right? You got your start at Gibbs, right? When you got finished playing ball for the Bucks, right?
Yeah, the first time I started coaching was maybe 07 or 08 at Gibbs High School. That was Coach Shakir's first head coaching job, matter of fact. And eventually the Lincoln job opened up in Tallahassee. So he went back 2 years later, he went back to Tallahassee to take that job. And I came up to Tallahassee a year later and coached him in Tallahassee. We had a bunch of success up there. We won state championship in 2010. We state run-ups in 2012. So we had a bunch of success every year we've coached together. So
that's good. Yeah, I remember that 2010 game. I watched that. Y'all beat Arnwood on the last second kick? Second kick, right?
Goal to beat Arnwood at the end of the game.
Yeah, and Arnwood, one of those schools that's always in it, but it just seemed like they can't get over it. When y'all beat them up a couple times.
It was number 2 team in the country when we beat them that game.
I remember that. Now, what was the most difficult part of last year? I know with COVID and everything. I coached at Brandon Christian, and we already had only a roster of 30, and it was one game where half our team, it was a district game, half our team was out, and we played the whole game with 17 players. For y'all, what was the most difficult part over at Manatee?
The most difficult part was not being able to lift weights, not being able to work out, because we knew and we heard through the grapevine that all our district opponents were working out in the weight room when school started. We never had a chance to work out, but we still took it to those guys and beat them. So that's a credit to the type of kids we have, how they work hard. We didn't have any spring practice, which was difficult on us. Also, it was a lot of indecisiveness with the FHSA organization. One week they said we can start working out. The next week they said we start playing games. We're like, how do we start playing games in a week when we just started working out? And plus, we hadn't touched the football since the last game of the season. So it was crazy. Also, remember Coach Shakir was suspended for the first 4 games of the year. Yeah. So we had the COVID issue. We had a head coach gone, and we just had to make it, do what it do. But the credit to our kids never, they don't really care. Kids don't really care about all that. They just want to know when we're going to play, who our next opponent, and when we're going to practice. That's all that really matters to them.
Yeah, and that FHSA, because granted I was at Brandon Christian, but we were in the independent version of FHSA, and we listed everything they did in clearly 4-5 hour meetings just to say, we're going to meet next week on that subject. What was the point of this meeting? You could have sent that in the email.
I remember that night when they was about to wait for their decision, and they ended up having a whole additional meeting.
Just to say, we're going to start, and if you want to play in the playoffs, just say you want to play. Because they had teams that had no business. Like I love Coach West at Leeward Ranch, and I interviewed him later on this summer. But they didn't have no business being in the playoffs. If it was the regular season, they wouldn't even sniffed it.
And they had a home game. We had to go over there and play them in the first round of the playoffs.
I remember that because everybody was like, "How in the world?" Because y'all had just beat them like maybe 2 weeks before, right?
Yeah, they were in our district, and we beat them, and then we had to go play them again in the first round of the playoffs at their place.
That's just sad.
And we had to end up playing St. Thomas in like this third round of the playoffs, and St. Thomas had only played like 4 games already, so it was crazy. But that was just the COVID season, so.
Yeah, and truthfully, it seems like everything is getting back to normal. So hopefully it gets back to normal. I kind of want to go away from this RPI thing a little bit. I like the old school way of the top 2 from the district go, but we'll see how that goes down the line. Now you got Tyrique Allen. Tell me a little bit about Tyrique, because I know he's a baller. You can put Tyrique anywhere on the field. I seen Tyrique play. I got a wide receiver that's about the only DB in the county that he respect, that I trained. Tyrique. Tell me about Tyrique. He had 33 tackles last year, 27 of them solo, and 1 pick. Wish he had more picks, but like you said, y'all only played 7-8 games. Tell me a little bit about him.
Tyrique is just a football player. Tyrique is the type of football player that can play in any era. Very intelligent on the field, tackles well, he's aggressive, runs well, got good ball skills. He can catch the football. He's the type of guy that's not going to knock down the ball. He's going to go up and intercept the football. You just need to find ways to get Tyrique close to the action. He going to make plays throughout the ball game. At times you have to control his emotion because he's a very emotional guy. But, that comes with guys that the type of player he is. He's an emotional guy. He plays hard. He wants to always do his best. So he's a great player. He made All-State as a 10th grader. So that goes to show you what type of talent he has.
Yeah, he's a talent and good enough to get invited to Under Armour Combine, which from everything I read, he did pretty well on. Now, at the next level, do you think he'd kind of be in the box guy? Because I've seen him, he got some good size on him. Or will he stay up top at free safety? You think he's gonna drop down and be a strong?
He probably could be well, it's really not really how today's game played with strong safety and free safety. There's really no strong safety, free safety anymore. It's really just a safety because you can be the down box guy and they give you motion. You got to go up top, another guy got to roll down. So Tyrique has a skill set that he can tackle in the box or up close in line of scrimmage. He has enough short area quickness that he can cover slot receivers. And he's very good back deep in the middle of the field. He reads the quarterback well and gets a good break on passes and comes down with interceptions.
That's good. Now, Cornell Thomas is a guy that I sent you over some stuff, and you had said he's coming back next year. Had 53 total tackles, 34 solo, which is good. That's pretty solid. You think in a full season, that's a kid that's looking at a 70, 80 tackle season. That's pretty decent for a junior. Now, what is he's an inside linebacker, or are you guys running a 4-2-5, 3-3-5? How you guys, what are you guys running?
We're at more of a 4-2-5, kind of like based out of 4-2-5. We'll never have a guy on our defense with just a bunch of tackles because we're gonna have a bunch of guys around the football. Cornell is a converted running back. He played running back his first couple of years here with us, so he has good speed and runs well. He ran track this spring and got even faster. He runs a 4.6 laser time, 11.5 100 meter at 2:15. And he also made the state up in the shot put. So he's the type of guy that has good strength, good speed, smart kid, probably close to 3.5, 3.7 GPA, real smart kid, good leader. He's the type of kid that's going to be there every day. He's going to show up every day. He's not going to miss. He's not going to come up with excuses not to be there. So he takes part in everything, runs track, weightlifting team, football team. Just a good kid, good leader. He'll be a kid that can play football in college. So his best football is ahead of him. Last year was his first year playing linebacker. As I said earlier, he was converted running back. So he can only get better, as he keeps playing.
So he's a little wet behind the ears at the linebacker position, which, like you say, he it's ahead of him. Kind of like Miles Jack and Anthony Barr. Anthony Barr went to UCLA as a running back and turned up as a first round draft pick as a linebacker. So
that's Cornell. Cornell more of an athlete right now. He's still learning his linebacker position, but he can run, he can tackle, and he has a feel for where the football is going all the time.
Yeah, and the rest of the stuff you can coach. That I know college coaches, that's what they look for. If you're around the ball and you understand it and you got the smarts, I could teach you the rest. Now, two newcomers that's new to the program that didn't play last year, Corey Sanders and Andrew Morris. Where those guys come from, and how do you expect them to contribute this season?
Andrew Morris is offensive guard, can play tackle also, 6'3", about 340. He hurt his knee as a 9th grader, and he already complained about knee issues. So he had surgery on his knee, so we held him out all last year so he can get helped and be ready to play his 10th, 11th, and 12th grade year. He's a big physical kid, real smart, works hard. He's a guy that does well in conditioning drill, despite him weighing 340. He's not a guy who's going to lag back, way in the back. He's going to give it his all. Corey Sanders is probably one of the better athletes on our entire football team. Corey played some at the end of the year. We brought him up from JV. He's probably our best player in our JV last year. He's an athlete. He can play running back. He can return kicks. He can play safety. Actually, in spring Jamboree was his first time starting at safety in the varsity game, and he looked like the best player on defense, throughout that night against Venice and Charlotte. So he's a guy that he's fearless. He gets a run read. He's downhill. Just a good football player. He's a quiet kid, doesn't give you any issues. Just a good kid, plays hard, and shows up every day in practice and workouts.
Now, is Corey part of that Sanders family of Ace, Tracy, in all of them?
I never
Is he
even
part
thought
of
of that,
family?
even though he's a Sanders. I never even thought of it. Consider he's a Sanders. I don't think he's kin that trace to them. I think he just happened to be a Sanders, but he's a heck of a football player. He's really a running back, but he's such a great athlete. I put him on defense in the secondary.
Yeah. Now I watched the Jamboree, which I like that a lot better than the traditional spring scrimmages where it's no special teams. I like the old school Jamboree thing. I watched the Charlotte game. That was a good tough battle. Which Charlotte's one thing about Charlotte, even though Coach Waldrop is gone, is down there in Port Charlotte. Charlotte, you gonna know you play. If you blow them out, it's just because you that superior of a team. But you're gonna come out bumped and bruised up. That was a good game between y'all. Now, Venice, I got calls after Venice game. Hey man, Manatee done lost 44-0. What's going on? I talked to my nephew. He said that y'all played and I talked to you too. He said y'all played a lot of the young guys. Y'all basically played y'all JV guys against Venice in that
Well, we
spring
played
Jamboree.
mostly young guys in both games because that's all we had in the spring. Older guys. Jace played the 2 series against Charlotte. We went downfield and scored. He came out. He played 1 or 2 series against Venice. Venice was blitzing a lot, so I took him out the game because we had some guys up front who would never play offensive line. And I wasn't about to let Jason just get hit and in the pocket going against guys who never play offensive line. Same with Kyrie. The first game he played the first 2 series. We went down and scored twice. I took him out the game. Against Venice, he played a couple of snaps. Actually, against Venice, we drove the ball from the 10 all the way down to like the 30-yard line. Then we had a penalty or something. That particular day, I played a bunch of 9th graders. All those guys that were starting and playing all over the field, mostly 9th graders. And I just wanted to get I told them throughout spring, like, all you guys going to play in the Jamboree. And my whole thing with spring Jamborees, and always been that way, even with Coach Curry's the head coach, we just want a bunch of guys to play. We don't game plan for it. We don't try to, prep for it or anything. We just go out there and play, and whatever happens. Yeah. And that particular night against Venice, we were terrible on special teams. But I knew that going in. We didn't have any kickers. We didn't have any punters in spring. Now we do. So they scored like 46 touchdowns on special teams. I think it was a kick return, a punt return. I think we shanked the punt. They scooped up and scored, and we snapped the ball over the quarterback's head one time for another touchdown. So 4 of those 6 touchdowns, like crazy touchdowns on special teams, but it didn't really matter to us. At the end of the day, spring game, I just want to make sure everybody plays, nobody gets injured, and we go home and get ready for summer. That's all that I care about spring game.
Gotcha. And that goes back to that thing that we're talking about at the beginning with the community cares what happens to Manatee, because when those calls that I was getting and those calls that my dad was getting about Manatee, nobody was talking about how most of their touchdowns came from special teams. Everybody was trying to make it seem like they was just driving up and down the field on you. And one thing
that's the same way they think they beat. Somebody told me, I didn't watch the game, but they said the same way they beat Lakeland. They had like 2 or 3 kickoffs that went straight up in the air. I remember it was real windy that night. The Stiggins Lakeland had 2 or 3 kickoffs that went straight up in the air, and they scored like 3 touchdowns on Lakeland on like bots catches on special teams. So Ben's a good team though. They played hard that night, but we'll be okay. I think we'll be okay. We'll have a plan and a plan for those guys when we start when we play them in the regular season. We'll have a bunch of our guys back that wasn't available in spring practice, so we'll be ready to go. We've been working real hard this summer. We've developed a lot of depth, a lot of key positions, so we'll see how it goes.
Okay. And yeah, because Venice, I give all respect to Coach Peacock, because Coach Peacock truly, if he has a running back, he's truly going to make you play 11 on 11. Because that running back's going to run the ball. You're going to play Venice, and you're going to come out in that old school 4-4 cover 3. It works. He has a deep run every year. I give a lot of respect to Venice. Venice is a good solid program. Now, tell me what will be the difference of Manatee's program from Coach Yusuf Shakir and Coach Jacquez Green? Because I know y'all coached a while together, but you're your own man, you're your own coach. So what would be some of the major differences?
I think the main thing will be defensively. I want to be a bit more aggressive. I don't want to just be unsound out there running all over the field, but I want to be able to bring some pressure on defense, instead of just lining up and playing a static defense every down. So the main difference, I think, we're going to bring a little bit more pressure, and we'll be better. From this summer, we're better in secondary. So we'll bring more pressure, and I think we'll play a little bit more cover 1. as opposed to sitting in zone most of the night. That's the main difference as far as defensively. Because Coach Carroll is usually a defense coordinator, and Coach Wheeler, who I retained on the staff this year.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I met Coach Wheeler. He's a linebacker coach, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Gotcha. Now, looking at y'all schedule, y'all open up. I call it Murderer's Row, and then you kind of get a break. I shouldn't say a break, but it eases up after October 1, because I'm not sure. Well, the game against Venice, which is October 8th, it looks like. But y'all open up with Gulliver Prep, who has Gulliver Prep down there in Miami. Can always have some ballers.
Lakeland is out. Tempe Tech and the Jamboree.
Yeah, you got Tempe Tech and Jamboree, who honestly, and I almost coached in Hillsborough County. Tempe Tech might be the best team in Hillsborough County this year. Them in Bloomingdale. You open up with Tempe Tech and Jamboree. You got Gulliver Prep, Lakeland, Palmetto, Kissimmee Osceola, Clearwater Academy International, and Venice. You open up with, honestly, Coach, I don't know if maybe Venice, because Venice got some dogs too. I don't know if it's any other team in the state that open up like that. Like, well,
Coach, the easiest thing to do is pad your game. You pad your schedule with easy wins. I don't care about trying to get easy wins. I want to play good competition. I want to get our kids ready. When we make the playoffs, to play good competition. I don't think high school football is fun unless you're playing good competition. Because I've been in seasons when we beat teams 40-0. We got running clocks every week. That's no fun. So we want to try to play the best teams we can play, and hopefully we come out victorious in those games.
Gotcha.
As long as I'm the head coach, I want to play the best teams that we can play on our schedule.
Gotcha. Anybody, anywhere, anytime.
Anybody, anywhere, anytime. I'm not traveling across the country though to play a high school game though. Not me.
I like the traveling thing. So like I said, I played at Manatee. My senior year was the first year of the Under Armour contract, and we went up to Pittsburgh and played Woodland Hills. A lot of people know Woodland Hills. Jason Taylor, Dan Marino, the Gronkowski family. That's where they play. I liked it that. Now, IMG is just a different entity, but going out to Cali and going out to Texas and playing, I'm one to believe
you going out to Cali and going out to Texas, you skipping over like 150 good high schools that you can play in Georgia and Alabama, somewhere like that. So it just never made sense to me. Like you skip over so many good schools to go to California to play a team where you can play that same type of talent somewhere nearby, and your team not all tired and sluggish the next couple of weeks from that long trip.
Gotcha. Because you do have up in Georgia, you got Buford, who's always good. You got a vet all-star allowance, one of them are always good. You got
you got all the South Georgia teams. You got Thomasville, Cairo, Valdosta Lounge. You got the middle of Georgia. You got Warner Robins. You got Northside. You got my old high school, Peach, one of the powerhouses. So you got a lot of schools to play in the Georgia area, even the Alabama area, even the Mississippi area. If you want to go out there for.
Yeah, you could truly keep it that way. I like everybody playing everybody. I do wish we did have more out of state games, but I now that you broke it down like that, I tend to agree with you that it don't make no sense to go out there when you can play the Southeast, maybe even sneak up into the Midwest of Ohio, like how Lakeland used to do, and play some teams up there.
Or even up like in Tennessee and play some of those powers, or Kentucky, South Carolina powers. You got Dutch Fork and Irma and all those schools like that.
I'm gonna tell you, in Kentucky now, Coach, I went to school in Kentucky. I went to West Kentucky. They got a powerhouse called Trinity.
And that's when Xavier and all them.
And all they did was brag about Trinity and James Quick. I'm like, okay. They made it to the state championship. State championships was at West Kentucky. I finally got a chance to see. I'm like, I'm not impressed. I
know what you mean.
I was like, Manatee.
They're good for their area. That area. They probably got all the good players in the area that go to their schools. They real dominant in their area, and a lot of people haven't been out their area, so they don't know what other high school football teams look like.
Yeah, because it was a kid. I showed them James Quick. They were showing
Quick
me
when they Louisville, right?
Mm-hmm. He went to Louisville, and then I think he had a short stint with somebody in the NFL, but didn't last long. And they were like, "Oh, okay, he's good." I was like, "He's nice." And then I showed them Ace, and after that, they were like, "Okay." They watch Ace highlights every day. They were watching Ace at South Carolina. Like they just kind of totally turned off on Quick, and it was like, this is what y'all think Quick is like a superstar.
And you like Ace not even one of the best receivers in Florida. Right? He's just a good player.
Ace was great at Manatee, but like
he was.
And I truly, and I say it to this day, if Ace was 5'11", 6 foot, Ace probably been a top 30 receiver in the country, top 25 receiver in the country for what he could do. And Quick had everything that Ace had, but the speed and quickness. And it was like, I was like, y'all think this is good? I was like, this is a wide receiver who don't even get all the pub that Quick get. But that's to live another day. Now, districts changed a little bit, and so y'all got East Bay, Bloomingdale, and that's it. Oh, Leonard. So y'all got a Hillsborough County district again.
East Bay, Bloomingdale, Leonard, and somebody else I'm missing. It's a fourth team in there too. East Bay, Bloomingdale, Leonard. There's somebody else I'm missing.
Now, Leonard has a Manatee County coach on their staff. Their head coach is actually from Manatee County, was part of the state championship teams at Southeast, Coach Kitchie. I expect them to be a pretty tough team to play. It's going to be one of those ragtag tough teams. They have some athletes, but your biggest competition is Bloomingdale, team that went to the state semis last year, lost a lot of talent. So right now I got y'all winning y'all district. So how do you feel about your district, competition in it, and everything?
It's always fun when you play new people. Like this year we'll play a lot of new people. We've been in the district last couple of years with Sarasota and Lakewood Ranch and Venice. So this year we'll get to play Bloomingdale and East Bay and Leonard. Bloomingdale is one of the best teams in the Bay Area last couple of years. So it'll be a good matchup. Leonard and East Bay, they in the same area. I think all these schools right there on 75 over that way. So It's always good to play new competition, new people. It's always fun to game plan when you're playing against new people and new competition. So we're going to do what we do, regardless of who we play week in and week out. We're going to try to be physical. We're going to try to run the football. We're going to try to stop the run. I know it sounds like, coach speak, but that's just the way that, I've grown, to learn that that's the way you win football games, by being physical and tackling in space.
Yeah. And making them one-dimensional and being physical. And look at the Patriots. Like, yeah, they had a bad season last year, but that's how they went. That's how they've been winning. Run the ball, play clock control the clock, and play hard-nosed defense. And truthfully, when it comes all down to it, if you really want to look at it, now the Chiefs are a different entity with Patrick Mahomes. But all the teams, if you look at it, all the teams that's winning the Super Bowl and national championships, at the end of the day, what they do, play great defense, run the ball well. So right now we're going to switch it up a little bit. I call it quick game. So every coach is going to do this. Every coach will probably answer similar questions. It's called quick game. So I'm going to ask you a question, and it's the first memory or first thing that pops up in your head. So I want you to think about it. I want you, the first one that pops up in your head when you hear it. Now, so you ready for it?
Yeah.
All righty. What's the best athlete that you played against? Who's the best athlete that you've ever played against? And it could be any level, high school, college, or pro.
Probably Champ Bailey.
Champ. Now, I was just listening to, and I don't know if you listen to All Things Covered with Brian McFadden and Patrick Peterson. They have a podcast, and they had Champ on there, and it was a season, in the NFL season at that. Champ only let up 4 catches in the whole entire season. Like I think Champ is kind of in that Rondé Barber territory where he don't get the flowers that he deserves as a top tier corner.
You've been in there put Rondé Barber with Champ Bailey, man.
Nah, I like Rondé. It ain't too many corners that did what Rondé.
Champ Bailey was a phenomenal athlete who had great technique and still would tackle on the corner. Like, he was everything you want in the cornerback.
Yeah.
With good size. He's like 6'1", about 200 pounds, can fly, play with good technique, tackle, come up and set the edge on the corner. He was everything.
Yeah. Now, Champ is a top 5 corner to ever play the game. But I think what I'm saying is neither one of them get the flowers that they deserve.
Rondé would never get his flowers because a lot of people consider him a nickel corner. He never got on the outside. They had to cover receivers. So, they'll never give him his flowers, even though he still may make the Hall of Fame and all that kind of stuff. But they'll never give him his flowers because he always played in the slot with help all around him, as opposed to out on the aisle and having to cover the best receivers, play after play after play after play. So that's what a lot of people hate on Randy Fowl.
Yeah, and I feel like he was the trendsetter of today's nickel corners, because like you say, he started out wide, and then when they went to the nickel package, he would move inside, and they would bring in either Donnie Abraham or Brian Kelly when he was a young pup. But yeah, he won't get his flowers.
As a corner, though, they like to give the flowers to the guys who just lock down great receivers. Like Champ early in his career, Champ play on the outside. When they go nickel, he'll go inside and cover the other team best slot receiver. So, he was that type of guy. And they'll bring in Darryl Green on the outside, and I think Fred Smoot was on the other outside. So Champ used to go inside all the time back in his early days in Washington.
Yeah, and then you got to remember he had Dion for a short period of time too in Washington.
It was Dion, Smoot, Darryl Green, all those guys at one point in time. Because we played them when I was with Tampa at that particular time.
That's a 4x1 team to watch right there.
Dion was old now. It wasn't a young Dion. It was an old Dion now.
Hey, when Dion came back and played with the Ravens and was 37 and ran a 4.340 or 4.40. I said, yeah, that's a different athlete that I don't think too many gonna see nowadays.
Allegedly.
Hey, I'm gonna go with that allegedly right now because I done seen him run with too many people. Now, what's the best athlete? Who's the best athlete that you ever coached or coached against?
I don't coach against a lot of great athletes, man. Probably Purifoy, the kid that played at UF.
Devin Purifoy?
Lucius Purifoy, yeah. I coached against him at Pine Forest one year. He returned kicks. He started the game at quarterback. Then he went to running back. He played corner, and he played man-to-man every snap at corner. Like, he never left the field. He had a 60-yard touchdown run at running back. He had like a 70-yard touchdown run at quarterback. He blocked the kick, scoop and score, and he locked down our best receiver the whole game in corner, playing man-to-man. Like, he's one of the best athletes I've ever seen on the football field.
Because he went to Florida as a corner. He ended up playing corner at Florida, right?
Yeah, he played corner at Florida, Purifoy. He was there when Roberson and all them guys were there. Cody Riggs and all those guys were there.
Yeah, because I think he might have graduated the same year I did, maybe. Because I came
out like he graduated like 2011, 2010, around that time.
Yeah, because I graduated 2011, and I remember Roberson and all of them.
Yeah, that's Cola Pine Forest.
Now, what's a game that you coached or played in that you still get cold sweats? Like it still give you nightmares?
Probably the state. We had an epic game in 2012 against Oviedo in the third round of the playoffs. It was down in Oviedo, and we beat them 34-28. They gave us the ball back with like 45 seconds left on the clock. We drove it down and scored and won the game. But it was such a back and forth game, and it was an exciting game. And like to this day, all my old players, the main game they always talk about, man, you remember we went to Oviedo that time and played them? It was just a great ball game. It wasn't a bunch of penalties. It wasn't a lot of turnovers. It was just basically a track meet on offense. They had a great offense. We had a good offense that night, and neither team could stop each other. So it was basically the last team in football going to win the game.
Yeah, last team out, whichever defense can make that one stop. That one stop.
And we got the ball back with 45 seconds left, and they play a lot of man-to-man. So I'm just knew they're going to get back in the zone and make us drive the ball. And it was a man-to-man the first snap. We threw a corner out for a touchdown. So I'm like, I just knew it was going to be in a big, deep zone after they scored the touchdown at the end.
Dropped it over his head and let's go get it.
Yep.
Now, you from Florida. You from Georgia. You from Georgia. You coach in Florida. Florida high school ball or Georgia high school ball? Who you taking?
I think Florida has the best athletes. I think Georgia has the best support, facilities and all that type deal. But I think Florida has the best overall athletes, though.
Gotcha. Yeah, because I lived I just moved back, been here for about a year now. But I lived in Dallas, which is close to Marietta.
County.
Yeah, my wife's uncle, teaches at Marietta, so he showed me the weight room. I'm like, I've seen colleges that don't even got weight rooms like this. Like, their facilities is just different up there in Georgia, and the money is different. Like, he was telling me he'd never see the head coach on the football in school, but he's a teacher and he makes a hefty salary, and it's one of those things where I always tell people Florida better catch up on the salary with their coaches, because Georgia's right next
it's
door.
already happened though. It's already happened. If you really if you know a lot of these guys, and most of the guys that the head coaches in these Georgia schools and assistant coaches, most of them started out down here in Florida. Just about all the top schools up there, all these guys started out down here in Florida. They just pay the coaches more, so it's able to keep more stability and keep the coaches in the program longer. Down here, the pay is so bad that a lot of the guys out here are always trying to find ways to go to Georgia, ways to go to Texas and coach.
Yeah, because Texas is another state that they pay a coach $100,000 a year just to be the coach. Now, I tell everybody, you go out there and try to get that $100,000, you better win the state championship soon, because if not, they're gonna let you go. We paying you $100,000 just to coach.
But if you got any kind of motivation or whatever like that, though, you trying to win state championship regardless of how much money you make, though. So
yeah, that's true too.
That's the way I look at it.
That's true too. Now, what's your favorite UF story? You were there. You beat my nose in the national championship. Y'all looked up, and our quarterback wasn't able to play. But what's your favorite UF story?
I don't really have a UF story. I just have, basically when I was at UF, just the fact that each time we went out to play, we basically knew we was going to win before we even took the field. We was very dominant in that time. I think I played 3 years and lost 3 games: LSU, Georgia, and Nebraska. 3 games I lost when I was there. So we was dominant, man. And not that, we was a real close-knit team. We were good friends with each other. We hung out with each other off the field. There was no animosity between players. Nobody was really jealous of each other. It was just a good deal. To this day, we all still friends. We all still text each other. We all still in group texts together. So, some relationships that you built for the rest of your life.
Yeah, because Ike Hilliard on that team, right? I remember Ike.
All of us was in the same. We was all in the same recruiting class. Matter of fact, me, Ike, Riddell Anthony, Travis McGriff, Mike Peterson, Tony George, Fred Taylor. It was a bunch. It's like 18 of us. I was in the same recruiting class. I got recruited in 1994 recruiting class.
Okay, so y'all, so you went to Florida as Pete was going to the Florida State, pretty much.
Pete younger than us. Pete came the next year. I remember when Pete came on his recruiting visit. We was already there.
Gotcha.
Pete came the next year. Reggie Davis came the next year at Southeast. Robbie came the next year, I think, out of Manatee. All them guys came the next year. I think Doc came the next year out of Manatee also. Doc
who's still up in Gainesville. He had Gainesville High.
Yeah, he had coach at Gainesville High. We came out in 94. I think Pete Upton came out in 95.
You're right, because they won the state championship in 94. Then he went over in 95. You're right, which he almost went to, I believe it was Nebraska, he said, because they were running the option.
Probably so now. Nebraska was getting all the guys from this area, and Pete was a option-type quarterback.
Yeah. Now, I'm gonna let you go with this. What's your, as a coach, every coach has his quote. Like, I like to tell my DBs when I coach, when he dip, you dip, like that old song. What's your go-to quote for your guys to know that kind of like the click of what you're saying?
Oh, let me see. When I was coaching receivers, my main thing was always hands and feet. Because a lot of times the receivers like to do all this crazy stuff with their feet, but they're not using their hands, so they get rerouted and jammed easy. So I would try to make sure they know that you use your hands also. Your hands are just as important as your feet. And so you can hear me saying it a lot when I was coaching receivers, always like quick hands, quick feet, just to reiterate, that to those guys, they can get clean releases off the football.
Gotcha. Well, thank you for everything, Coach. Everyone, thank you for listening. Coach, you got anything to say to the people before we log off? Or
I don't really, not really. No,
this your time to talk your stuff right now.
I'm just excited about the upcoming season. We had a good summer so far in the weight room, and getting in shape and stuff. We wasn't even in shape in the spring, Jamboree. Come think of it, we played 3 plays and we was all gas, but it'll be a lot different once we start fall. So we had great participation. We've had at least 95 to 100 kids there every day throughout the summer. So things looking up. Hopefully we can do our part as coaches and then help those kids, reach their goals as players. So looking forward to the season. Hopefully we finish with a strong summer. And appreciate you for having me on.
Thank you for coming on, Coach. I know we've been at it for a little minute, but we finally got it done. Thank you for everything. And
All right, everyone. Thank you for listening to that podcast. I hope you liked it. Even if you didn't, please like, share, comment. Excuse me. Even on that YouTube, make sure you subscribe and hit that button.